Welcome back to Whiteout Weekly on our second straight glorious victory week, as it was a classic FCS versus FBS game where Penn State got the twos in early in the second half and dominated just as much as the ones in a 63-7 victory. We actually covered the spread, which ended up coming out at 42, I believe, Dave.
42 big ones.
And we would have covered our fake spread of 50 to 55 points that we would have taken on this one. I loved seeing the twos play just as well as the ones in that matchup. People are going to say it was, an FCS opponent, but it was still, 19-year-olds, some freshmen dominating 22, 23. Like a lot of those guys were transfers, senior transfers. So there's a lot of, younger guys dominating older men. And I love to see that. So the future looks bright. Like Elliot Washington, Tony Rojas, King Mack, our Philly boy, Jamil Lyons getting in there. That huge crushing sack. That was
big sack.
Dude, Marker was getting absolutely abused out there. I felt bad for him at one point. It's just like throw a block somebody. Like he's just getting torn up out there, man. But overall, I was totally satisfied. Delaware went under on trick plays, under 1.5 trick plays. Who would have thunk?
Good thing I didn't put any extra money on that. Or
it
was
almost felt like Delaware was just happy to collect the check and get out of there. Like they weren't throwing in any sort of wrinkles, like any sort of dynamic to their offense. It was just like, all right, we're going to run the ball. We got a 6-yard touchdown. I think they finished with like 58. What is it? Yeah, 58 passing yards, 6 of 17. Yeah. Like that's not a team trying to upset a big FBS school. That's just a team trying to get a check and get out of there healthy.
Yeah, and with your depth comment, I mean, they went as far as they got some threes in there towards the end of the game as well. We had a little bit of Jackson Smolik action.
Yeah.
Got him towards the end. I think Bo ended up subbing back in for him, but able to get him some game time action. So that was cool to see. But yeah, I think from listening or reading the transcript from Franklin's presser, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 75 to 82 different guys got into that ball game. So a lot of guys got some opportunities. They were able to get some guys out early. I think Olu, they got him out pretty quickly. I think he only had about 32 snaps. Franklin mentioned that it wasn't an injury concern at all. It was just they want to protect him for the home stretch and get him out and get some other guys some playing time, like Drew Shelton.
Guys. Valuable rush for Shelton. The last shout out I want to give is to Amari Evans catching a touchdown. My freshman breakout star picked at the beginning of the season. Any concerns, Dave? I was gonna say the kick situation, but I think my only concern was really the edge rushers again, just not getting pressure again. Second week in a row where you would expect them with that kind of offensive line undersized to kind of break through some of those double teams, but didn't really see it that much against Delaware. So we kind of need those guys to step up.
Yeah, I think definitely that aspect. Again, those are guys that we've seen that can produce. So hard to label it as a concern, but it definitely is a call out these first couple weeks. So would like to see that change, especially this weekend in the Big Ten play. Hard to find a lot to complain about. It's nice to see that we just I know it's an FCS opponent, but the fact that we just absolutely drub them is always good to see. Don't mess around at all. 2 straight weeks where we've scored a touchdown on the opening drive. So that's always good to have in your back pocket. Really, the only 2 things from me are, one, special teams, not related to the kicking, but Caden Saunders, who was my pick for a breakout wide receiver on the offense this year. They have him at the punt returner spot. Haven't seen a ton of flash there. Would like to see him become a little bit more of a game breaker and really just breaking some tackles and breaking and changing the field.
There was some shiftiness, but he Yeah, just
some shiftiness, but he's
breaking
not really
tackles is
getting anywhere.
the next level to that. Yeah.
And then lastly on the offense, I mean, Drew, again, just solid. My only kind of revelation was I would have liked to see them air it out a little bit more, take some
They
deep shots.
they were
They
running
were,
such a weird defense. That 3-3-5 really. I mean,
yeah,
you're running 5 D-backs, So I think the way your such kind of eased them in with those little like jump screens to Theo Johnson, kind of just attacking the interior a little bit, sort of opened it up. But it's hard to go deep when you have 5 D-backs just prowling.
it's hard. They were definitely just taking what the defense was giving them. But
Mm.
I guess for me, it's just having that nice shiny new toy back there. You just want to see the
Yeah.
gunslinger air it out. But
Uh-huh.
we got plenty more games to be able to see that.
I totally agree. And like you said, we are about to head into Big Ten play. So let's go around the Big Ten, aka around the trenches.
Trenches on 3. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Got regular gas. We run diesel premium only.
Voice crack on the snap.
Personal foul. 69. Offense. He was giving them the business. We played it there.
Yeah, so big news breaking out of Big Ten land.
Breaking.
We were done with the coach firings once the season started after the Northwestern scandal with Pat Fitzgerald, but staying in the Big Ten West, Mel Tucker, after inking that big 10-year, $95 million contract after that 11-2 2021 season, fired for sexual misconduct allegations with Brenda Tracy. Number of statements have come out since these allegations. Apparently, this is something that has been trying to been pressed for quite some time. Ultimately, when you're that big of a coach, you got that kind of contract, you don't want to be messed around with that type of stuff. So Michigan State, who over the last couple of years have had a lot of promise, are now searching for some answers after they had a number of guys leave the program this summer, notably Keon Coleman, who's doing big things with Florida State, Peyton Thorne, who had left as well, their QB. Now their head coach is gone. So,
Yeah.
not a good look for Michigan State, and they're going to be on the hunt trying to find his replacement here throughout the season.
Yeah, just absolutely disgusting on his part. Aren't am I wrong on this? Are the allegations against like the sexual misconduct like coordinator of the team?
I believe so. Yeah,
I mean,
she's
that's
also
just
a
like, dude,
sexual,
that's
misconduct
just like
kind of advocate. But yeah,
that's some
I don't
sicko
want to be messing around with that.
that's some sicko stuff right there, like
Yeah,
double jeopardy sicko stuff.
yeah,
Get out of our conference, you
yeah.
sicko. We'll stick with the Big Ten West woes with number 9 Wisconsin. We were singing their praises last week. Ended up losing their road game against Washington State 31-22. The Pac-12's turning up against the Big
Mhm,
Ten in their final season, kind of showing, hey, we might belong with you guys over there when the big movement comes.
mhm.
And then Illinois lost on Friday to Kansas. So the Big Ten West is looking dreadful as always. We only got one more year of this, though. Only one more year of these stupid freaking divisions in the Big
Mhm.
Ten, which make no sense whatsoever. Not going to go into my rant, but we're going to be done with it after this year. Other news in the Big Ten, number 2 Michigan beats UNLV 35-7. Don't cover for a second straight week.
They're dead
Ohio
to me.
I knew you were going to be pissed about that
If they
one.
weren't already, they're even more dead.
If you hear some water going on in the background, I don't know what, I'm in my basement right now, but I don't know what the hell's going on back there. Sounds like a flood's going on. Go to Ohio State. They started sloppy, same as last week, but again, too many offensive weapons and the best front four in the Big Ten, which allows them to plentiful, bountiful defensive schemes and fronts because they can only rush 4 and then drop, have exotic blitz packages. That was a struggle of a note to go through, but I do have a confession to make. I think that's why I struggled through that. It goes against everything I believe in, but you'll see right below it. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. I have a $40 bet to win, I think, $1,500 for Marvin Harrison Jr. to win the Heisman.
Oh, you dog.
I know. But I also I have Nick Singleton, I have Drew Aller, I have Penn State to win Big Ten. Like that was my only. Yeah, I felt bad putting it in, but I had to.
You just need someone from the Big Ten East in New York at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. In our Big Ten betting bonanza battle, it was a thriller. Purdue took down Virginia Tech after their furious comeback. Looking back on it, that was a dumb pick on my part.
Boiler up, baby. Boiler
Absolutely
up.
Dumb pick. And in the battle for the Cyhawk Trophy, Iowa held off Iowa State. Game was an absolute poop fest. I watched some of it and just I couldn't. It was just too poopy for me. So that will be around the trenches as we get into Big Ten season. The Nittany Lions head to Champaign, Illinois to face the Fighting Illini, noon Eastern on Fox. Penn State is 14.5-point favorites as of right now. Over-under is 48.5. Dave, how are we feeling about this game?
Feeling good. It'll be, I don't know if you call it a ruckus environment in Champaign, but they're attempting their copycat of the whiteout. They're going to be doing an orange out
At noon?
So at noon. So if the fans can get to the game out of the tailgate lots by then. Stadium should be all orange. Theme of the story here is this is, I believe, the 8th straight season Penn State will be opening up Big Ten play on the road.
Yep.
And I want to say it's the 13th time in the last 14 seasons. So a lot of frustration there on the Penn State front. As a premier Big Ten East school, they want to be starting off Big Ten play at home. But unfortunately, that's somewhat out of their control, I guess. But feeling good here. Like you mentioned, Illinois got knocked off by Kansas last week. Kansas, Lance Leipold has that program on the up.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good players there. That was a tough game in Lawrence, Kansas. Not a hostile environment, but anytime you're playing on the road against a Power 5 team, it is a tough game. So encouraging for Penn State to see that Illinois wasn't able to hold up there. They also struggled week 1 against Toledo.
Yeah, 2-point win, right?
2-point win, last-minute field goal to knock off the mighty Mac foe.
Against Toledo, yeah.
Toledo. So overall, I'd say I'm feeling good. I like the way that the offense is clicking. Like I mentioned before, opening up the game fast starts, touchdowns on opening drives in both games. And I think I think they're well prepared from their opener against West Virginia. They're going to be going against another mobile quarterback. So I think they're better prepared, and they'll have some better schemes to be able to contain Mr. Luke Altmaier as we get into the offense. But overall, feeling good.
I saw a graphic, I think it was during last week's game, that Penn State has the longest active streak in FBS with 9 consecutive games of 30-plus points.
Ooh.
Pretty astounding. And guess who's second with 8? ACC team.
North Carolina.
Florida State.
Ooh.
8 straight games with 30-plus points.
Interesting.
So, yeah, Penn State, FBS leader in that. That's pretty sweet. Going all the way back to last season.
You look at where we were just a few years ago, or pre-2017, pre-Joe Moorhead. It's good to be in that position now. I'll take it.
Yeah. So sticking with their offense, I got 2 guys starred on the offensive line. Trench warfare. On the left side, strong side, 2 seniors, both 315 pounds. The left guard, Isaiah Adams, is 6'5", 315. Julian Pearl is their left tackle, 6'6", 315, both NFL prospects, but they did lose 2 starters from last season. So something to look out for on their offensive line. Hopefully Choppa and Adisa, Denai Dennis Sutton, can get it going against them. Anything on their weapons? I know they have the wide receiver group is like really good this year, which is kind of like a flip for Illinois because usually their running back room is the go-to.
Yeah, to round out the rest of the offense, their main target's Isaiah Williams, the junior, 5'10", 185-pound junior, number one. Big season last season, 82 catches. This year, already up to 11 catches, 150 yards. Hasn't found the end zone yet, but he is a game breaker.
Former
So
quarterback too.
Yeah, a
So
good first test for Kalen King and Johnny Dixon. Sorry.
yeah,
So they haven't really been tested thus far. So it'll be interesting to see how they are able to contain them. I feel confident that they will. The other wide receiver weapon that they have is Pat Bryant, another junior, number 13, 6'3", 200 pounds, 7 catches, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns this season. So most of their attack, I would expect to come from the air, combination of air and a little QB mobility, like I mentioned with Luke Altmaier, who is actually their team's leading rusher with 139 yards. Most of that came off a 72-yard scamper last week against Kansas.
makes sense.
Their running back, Reggie Love, tough shoes to fill from last year with Chase Brown. Big season, very productive back off the NFL, obviously, now with the Cincinnati Bengals. Their rushing attack is something that Penn State should be able to contain. After all, the defense has only given up, I believe, 3.6 yards per carry so far this season. So continuing to maintain that status quo and not letting Illinois' running game kind of find their traction and become unhinged, I think really is going to be the key here. And then along with containing Isaiah Williams.
For sure. That wide receiver group, yeah, going to be a test against Kalen King and Johnny Dixon. I think they're up for that test for sure. I'm interested in seeing how the linebackers handle this run game because I don't know if you remember the last time we played them, 2021.
Don't remind me.
The freaking 9, I believe, 9
9
overtime
OT.
game, 16-16 after the third overtime. Like, so they ran this formation they called it the barge formation. 7 offensive linemen, 2 tight ends. So that's 9 guys in the line of scrimmage, quarterback, halfback. That's your offense right there. They ripped off 357 rushing yards against us last year in that game. And our biggest weakness, I would say, biggest weakness in the chain would be possibly the interior of the defensive line. So if they go back to that barge formation, I mean, could be a long, long day if the linebackers and interior defensive line don't step up. But I have all the faith in the world that they do.
Yeah, I think it's something that they've definitely watched film on that they'll be prepared for. Could call it concerning that we haven't seen them step up yet, but again, it's just that type of thing where you just have confidence that this year's team's a little bit different, and they're going to be ready to go. Especially when you're talking about your Big Ten opener, would be hard pressed to expect them to come out and lay an egg and just totally be unprepared and get bulldozed, like we saw in games last year. Like you mentioned, the 2021 game and last year against Michigan. I think this defense is just too well equipped, too much talent. And the coaching staff with the continuity, I would be absolutely shocked if they allowed something like that to happen again this week.
Yeah, I keep using the word concerned. It's too early in the season to call anything a concern. Just something to keep your eye on.
Yep.
Is more the phrase I'm looking for. So their defense, it's a similar defense to what Delaware kind of ran. So I think that game plan of slicing with Katron Allen, dicing with Nick Singleton, those little thump screens, wide screens. I think that was kind of like a preview almost of what we're going to see as an offensive game plan against Illinois, as they lost their DC Ryan Walters, as we've mentioned, to Purdue. So he improved that defense from allowing over 32 points per game in 9 of 10 seasons heading into 2021 and then their defense only allowed 21.9 points per game last year and 18.8 against Big Ten opponents. So they were firing all cylinders, but lost some huge names in the secondary and lost their defensive coordinator. So their new defensive coordinator is their former defensive back coach, Aaron Henry. He's going to implement pretty much a similar 3-4 scheme that Ryan Walters implements. But like I said, lost some big players in the secondary, mainly Devin Witherspoon was a top 10, I believe top 10 draft pick, the first round draft pick. Sidney Brown to the Eagles, who's killing it, and another safety, Jartavius Martin. So we could see, again, a situation where they run like a 3-3-5, or we could see they've 5 versatile linebackers. So we could see like an exotic 2-5-4 defense or something like that, like something crazy, because they have 2 junior defensive linemen. The one is a absolute freak, Jerzan Newton, 6'2", 295, first team All-American last year, 6 solo tackles and 2 sacks last week against Kansas. So he is someone to watch out for. And then his running mate, also a junior, Keith Randolph, 6'5", 305. He had 5 solo tackles last week. So there could be some situations where they line just those 2 up on the defensive line and then have 5 linebackers kind of prowling around, because they have a lot of guys that are versatile, led by senior middle linebacker Tariq Barnes. He has 9 tackles and a sack on the season. And then they have these outside linebackers who can just get to the football. Seth Coleman, he's a junior, 4.5 sacks last season. And on the other side, freshman All-American last season, 4 sacks, Gabe Jackas. So definitely some names to look out for in the pass rush game. I think our O-line is suited enough to be able to handle them. But like I said, their secondary lost 3 huge components. So they have somewhat of an inexperienced and small height-wise secondary. Their tallest defensive back that gets time is a 6'1" safety. So I'm looking for my mismatch. I think is going to be Malik McClain in the red zone, catching 2 fade touchdowns.
Like it.
Anything?
Yeah, definitely the opportunity to air it out this week, or at least, again, more of taking what the defense gives you. As you mentioned, Newton and Randolph, those guys are no joke. They'll both be playing on Sundays.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, likely next year. But yeah, so definitely going to be a test for the O-line. I think they're ready for it again. So I think they're well equipped, well prepared. Just got to make sure that we're giving Aller time to be able to get that ball out. But definitely a lot of room to create some mismatches on the outside.
Yeah, both quarterbacks are under 6 foot. And the Fighting line, I give up 186 rushing yards to that MAC opponent, Toledo, and 262 against Kansas. And I believe Jalen Daniels threw for another 267 yards to the air with only 8 incompletions. So, given Aller's accuracy, he's going to have a big game. But the way they're just getting gashed by the run, I think, yeah, like I said, I think Delaware, that those looks are going to be kind of a preview of what we're going to see against Illinois, just with a little more flair.
Sounds like a Lawn Boys special.
Yeah, going to be a Lawn Boy special for sure. One more question I want to ask you, because I know Isaiah Williams was a quarterback. So now, over under trick plays for Illinois, over under 1.5. We can't go over 2. I'm going over.
I got to take the under. I think that's pretty ballsy in Big Ten play. I wouldn't put anything past Bielema, but I'm going to go with the under here.
I think they run 1 with Isaiah Williams tossing, And then I'm thinking maybe one in the red zone.
Okay.
We'll stop them both.
Of course.
So again, that game will be at noon Eastern on Fox. Penn State minus 14.5. The over/under 48.5. And with that, we will head to the greatest betting competition on planet Earth, the Big Ten betting Bonanza. It is week number 3 of the Big Ten betting Bonanza. And for those watching on YouTube, I got my hater blockers on because I'm blocking out all the haters. I'm 1-5 through 2 weeks. 1-5. Just as impressive as 5-1. So going over my last week's dud performance again. My only win came with that Kansas win on Friday night over Purdue. 1 point on the board. Lost VTech -3 against Purdue. Like I said, dumb bet. And then Iowa State +4 versus Iowa again. Dumb. That was just a pure hatred pick. So 1 point for me on the season. 1-5, like I said. Got the hater blockers on. Dave boy. 2 wins. 2-1 last week. Getting us some rep. Colorado -3.5. Got that easily. +1. Takes the Purdue money line +122. Hits that. That's a +3. 4 points for the kid.
Let's go.
And then I don't know if he's going to run this back, but he took Michigan again -36, and they win 35-7.
Dead.
So they are 0-2 ATS this season.
Mm.
Dave on the season is 2-4 with 4 Bonanza points to my 1. And that's what really matters, is just the Bonanza points. So we're doing make it, take it. So you got first pick, my friend. I believe you got 3 straight weeks of first picks.
Playground hoops rules. I like it. I'm going to start off simple. Not going to make this too difficult. Give me Lions -14.5 at Illinois. This team's just different this year. The cover Kings through 2 weeks, including that spot spread that finally went up against Delaware. Covered it, no problem. I think they cover this week as well. Give me the Nits -14.5.
14.5. Half. Remember that half.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stick with what worked. Oh, no. Almost just picked a game I could have waited on. I'm going to take this. Pac-12, like I said earlier in the podcast, trying to prove that they can hang with these Big Ten teams. And the Michigan State scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Washington, Michael Penix Jr., Heisman candidate. They're -16 on the road at Michigan State. I think it's going to be just a 58-3 game, just absolute whooping. Not even going to stand a chance. I'm taking Washington. Are you seeing 16?
I saw 16. Yeah.
Right, -16. Weird spread. 16. Need
Very
17.
Weird.
I think Michigan State's done.
Yeah, that Husky offense has just been electric. You should throw a little
Penix
throw a
is
little
fun to watch.
wage on Mr. Penix.
Yeah, I mean, despite like hating his guts the first time seeing him because he beat us on that non-touchdown, still believe that was not a touchdown.
He was short.
He was short.
There's evidence he was short.
But I like him. I like him a lot. He turned into like a very sick quarterback. Like,
yeah,
rooting for that kid. All right, your second pick.
Pick number 2. I am going to College Park, Maryland. The Mighty Terps did not cover this past week against the mighty Charlotte 49ers, but they were
a tough game against them.
Tough game, NBC primetime game. Weird primetime spot, but I guess not a lot to choose from last week. Going against the Virginia Cavaliers, who are just a bad football team. Actually have a little wager on Virginia under 3.5 wins this year. So they are just a bad football team. I got the Terps minus 15.5.
Are you seeing that on
I saw it on
DraftKings?
FanDuel. You got me a
I
little
got
better line.
I got 14.5 for you.
I will take 14.5.
Yeah.
Gladly.
So you got 2 14.5ers.
Ooh, that doesn't come back to bite me in the ass. Knowing this competition very well may.
Okay. So again, I can barely see in these things. Hater blockers. That's probably why. So many haters. I am gonna go. Sorry, it's taking so long. I'm going to go with the under in Minnesota against at UNC with Drake May, the Heisman co-favorite with Caleb Williams from USC. UNC is -8 in that game, which seemed a little weird to me. And Minnesota, their defense is legit this year. Held Nebraska to 10 points, Eastern Michigan to 6 points. This will be their first true test. I think they're up for it. And I think that game is going to go under its total of 50. 50 on the dot.
Like it.
Matty totals. I'm taking over your nickname.
I know I'm not living up to the nickname. What's my deal here?
And I think if Minnesota wants any chance of winning, they're gonna try to control clock. So Drake Mays and that UNC offense won't see as many plays as they normally would. So that's kind of my theory going into that under 50.
Old strategy, Cotton. See how it plays out.
Got a blindfold on out there, baby. Literally.
All right, last pick. Steering away from Michigan. They're done. Not going back to the well. So instead, I'm going to go across the border. I believe they border each other. Yes. I'm going to go to Ohio State. Thought that offense clicked a little bit more last week. McCord looked better. But like you mentioned, your Heisman pick, Marvin Harrison, is an absolute stud. I think he'll tear up this Western
Don't say that.
Kentucky.
Don't say that often.
I won't.
Keep that quiet.
One and done. All right. That's my only line drop with that. So I'm taking the Buckeyes. I got a -29 at home.
Yep.
Another cupcake against the Hilltoppers. Last big spread of the year, likely before we enter Big Ten play. So I am going to be all over that.
Yeah, we got a lot of big spreads this weekend. A lot of big spreads. So my last pick, I am going to do I think that Wisconsin loss pissed them off. Tanner Mordecai's not looking too great. I think they get back to the basics, run the ball all over Georgia Southern, and get some style points, which they desperately need back. So I'm taking Wisco -19. Hopefully they get a 21-point win. -19. We took some big ass spreads.
Sure did.
BASs, man. Basses. Big ass spreads. All right. That will do it for week 3 of the Big Ten Betting Bonanza and week 3 of Whiteout Weekly. I want to thank you guys all again for listening, watching, however you tune in. We truly appreciate it each and every week. Matt Martolucci with my co-host Dave Barron signing out from Whiteout Weekly.
Thanks, guys.